18th, 2022. We are in the second floor conference room at City Hall, and we'll call to order the City of Brainerd Personnel Finance Committee meeting. We'll start with introductions.
Timothy Stigline, Ward 3.
Connie Hillman, City Finance Director.
Alderman at Large, Kevin Sulik.
David Chansky, Community Development Director.
Teresa Burke, Brainerd Dispatch.
Deanne Berry, Kathy Tusa from the center.
And Gabe Johnson, Chair of the Committee. We have 5 items. It should take us about 10 minutes, but we gave ourselves a half hour just in case Kevin has a lot of questions. The first one is discussion on the 2022 downtown landscape.
That might fool you one day.
Yeah. They'll come with just a scroll of
Hey,
questions.
Gabe, we gotta start at 6:30 today, 'cause I got all kinds of stuff. Kevin, we only have 2 items, that's all right.
So I think as you all know, we provide downtown landscaping services. It's a special service that we assess to the Special Services District each year. The city's been doing it since roughly 2009, 2010, about the time that downtown was last reconstructed. Beginning in 2020, we moved from contracting the services out to doing them in-house, which we believe actually has been a great improvement in the quality of the service provided. This year, in an effort to get the best possible prices and quality of plants and material, we're requesting that the council authorize staff to begin the process of planning now. In the past, we've come in like April, May, but one thing we especially felt last year is that we realized flowers are not immune to COVID apparently. And last year, by waiting until April like we did, we actually almost weren't able to get the hanging baskets. We kind of had to stretch to find someone who would do the hanging baskets, and then also get them up by around Memorial Day. James Kronvik is the assistant planner and landscape architect. The last 2 years he's pretty much been tasked with the downtown landscaping, and so he's been really analyzing what's going on downtown, what needs to be done. In the packet you had a list of 6 items that we're recommending to be done downtown this year. There's a little extra that we feel needs to be done to kind of bring certain things back to life, specifically when it comes to the landscaping beds. They were in a really bad need for new mulch, and some weeding, cleanup, cutting back of the shrubs, getting rid of the garbage and things like that. And then again, general, and then also fertilizing of those beds. And then again, as the normal, planting the urns that we have at the intersections, and then doing our hanging flower baskets. And then one of the things that we're looking at doing a little new is also doing some landscape bed enhancement. Again, some of these beds, in addition to needing mulch over the last 10 years or so since the last set of planting, some of them have had some die-off, or there's holes where there could be some new plants put in. So that's something that we'd like to do, again, just to extend the life of the landscape islands. Looking at the budget, we're proposing a budget of roughly $16,000 for this year. It's a little high. It's a little higher than what's been in the past. Generally, it's in that 10 to 12 range. The biggest difference in that is again the mulching of the flower beds and doing some of the topsoil replanting of the landscape islands, and then also the biggest other change would be doing a full-time downtown maintenance employee, full-time temporary downtown maintenance employee. There's a couple reasons for that. One, we have found the last 2 years, getting someone to do that part-time is very difficult, especially in the market we're in right now. Why would someone want to go downtown for $14 an hour part-time when they can go work at Walmart for $18 an hour full-time? And try to get someone who also has some knowledge of landscaping and things like that. Plus, we believe that there is definitely a lot of work. There's full-time work down there. Last year, unfortunately, the person we hired, we lost them midsummer due to some health issues. So James and I were pretty much doing the bare minimum just to keep things going. And if there's a lot of weeding and cutback that didn't get to happen, that we would like to get to this year. So in the packet, essentially had a couple of different options for the committee to discuss tonight. One would be to authorize staff to conduct the proposal as we have in the packet. Option 2 would be to go back to outsourcing the downtown maintenance and landscaping. We do believe that we'd have kind of a breakdown. Outsourcing it to a level that it needs would cost probably close to upwards of $30,000. In this situation, we have the hanging baskets listed there in that cost. We actually would recommend not doing the hanging baskets in this situation. The reason being is that they need to be watered at least 3 times a week and sometimes daily. Last summer when we had that drought, we were watering those hanging baskets almost daily because unlike the urns, they don't retain water. So if you miss it, you could kill them. So there were times that we were coming out, myself was coming in, mostly myself because of overtime issues, coming into their weekends or a few holidays to get those pots watered, and we're not sure a landscape company or a contractor would necessarily be willing to do that. We don't know, but that's something that we'd be recommending. Option 3 we have is pretty much an option to just reduce the level of service we're doing down there. That one we're saying continue with doing the urns, do a initial light weeding and mulching of landscape islands in the spring, but then don't do the hanging flower baskets again because of how time sensitive they are, or time consuming to do all the watering. Don't do the topsoil and replantings, and then the regular weeding, pruning, sucker removal, garbage trash we would not do either unless we found potentially maybe someone who wants to volunteer the time to do that. In this situation, again, because of the there's not as much to be done down there, we'd be doing it as staff would be doing it. We wouldn't be hiring a part-time person to do that. We do have concerns with this option as that it might exacerbate current weed or overgrowth or die-off conditions that we have downtown. Estimated cost of this one we think would be just about $8,000 to do that. And then option 4 is to cease doing downtown landscaping altogether. We did want to add there that we actually have been in communication with some representatives of the Destination Downtown Business Coalition who have expressed interest in partnering with the city. They aren't ready to necessarily take this on this year, but they would be willing to partner with us. Some areas I've talked to Riley even today about this as well. Some areas would be potentially fundraising to help cover costs of plants and materials. One thing we did express with them is we're concerned if we're going to make the plants and material, like the hanging flower baskets, conditional on the fundraising, is that it might take too long to be able to order them. And again, we want to try to get these things ordered so we make sure we can get them up by Memorial Day. But other areas where we could partner with them are things like the spring cleanup before we would have someone on board potentially to do that. So going in, helping us do the first weeding, clearing out brush and garbage and debris out of the landscape islands particularly, and then also doing the same in the fall again when our downtown person is no longer here and getting prepped for the winter. So we are looking at opportunities to partner with some of our partners downtown as well.
Thanks, David. I was going to ask about partnering and not just DDBC, but have you thought about reaching out to CLC? They have some arbor type programs. Or
So it's high school.
So we've reached out in previous years and haven't gotten much of a response. And I will say to that that's been mostly of trying to get someone to do the downtown. Again, that's part-time, but we absolutely can do that.
And not for this year, but just for like kind of, you can make a note for future years to see if we can work with not having CLC staff, but maybe some CLC students that just want the practical experience over the summer, potentially. Or potentially have you reached out to the Crow Wing County Master Gardener?
We actually talked to the Master Gardeners last year, and there was some interest there. The interesting thing with the Master Gardeners, with what they're programming, they're very specific on what they will do. And so, they wanted, they're very limited in everything that they wanted to do. And in our initial talks with them, it was, city, you pay for it and we'll do it. So
Well, we're already paying for it. What are they gonna do? Like, could it be added value potentially? Since we're looking at kind of.
potentially, depending on what, again, they were pretty much limited to, well, not limited, they kind of limited themselves to what they wanted to do and not, like when it came to planting the urns, they were like, unless you're willing to plant the plants we want planted there versus like.
Oh, really? They won't even take a budget and put it in. Yeah. Okay. Well, that answers those questions.
I got a question.
Yep.
Not that I'm voicing this as my personal opinion, but what if we didn't do any landscaping? What kind of repercussions would we get from the downtown businesses?
I know from the ones most of the business owners we have heard from over the last year have been really impressed by the landscaping, have really been in support of the landscaping. I think there's only one business that in the last year that we've heard from that's not necessarily, and not that they're against the landscaping, I think it's they just don't want to pay for the landscaping.
Okay.
Because this is a service, unlike the snow removal, is 100% assessed to the downtown.
And is, go ahead.
Oh, no,
Is this cost going up from last year?
It is going up from last year again, mainly because the landscape islands, it's the extra work that the landscape islands really need, and then doing a full-time instead of a part-time.
And they're aware of that, and they're okay to pay the extra?
From everyone we've talked to, yeah.
the tenants.
Huh?
That's what the tenants are. So, to piggyback on that, and on the other discussions we've had with the downtown service district, maybe we need to have that discussion this year on why are we assessing for the garbages? Why are we assessing for 100% of the flowers? Because we don't assess to maintain the parks. We don't assess to remove the garbage from the parks. So perhaps there is some general levy dollars that do some of the flower maintenance or garbage removal down to, I don't know what that looks like, but we should probably have that discussion this year too, since we do have a couple building owners who contested their assessments and have been asking
Are you
questions.
looking at for that for 2022 or for 2020?
For 2023,
Okay,
right now I think we should go with option A and just move on, but I'm just
Okay,
kind
I
of
just wanted
thinking
to
of,
clarify.
if we don't kind of start putting items on the agenda and throwing out ideas, but all of a sudden it is 2023 and we
Yep.
haven't done anything different.
Yep.
So I favor option A. Tiffany, do you have any questions?
I'm fine with it.
No, I'm fine with
Or-
it. Then I guess I will move option A. We'll move forward with the proposal.
Okay, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move forward with option A, and then we're gonna have a couple discussions this year on the downtown special service district and potential other partners in future years. Any discussion? Having none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, David. Approve the 2022 street department unit heater replacements.
All right, I will
City
take
engineer,
this.
Public Works Director Sandy is not present. Connie, you'll be taking
Yes, I will
this?
take it over. So, staff has been going through the existing HVAC system at the street department garage. And because there was a large amount of soot, and diesel exhaust entering into the work area.
Suit is spelled soot, and soot is spelled suit.
Yes,
And whatever.
and I knew I was gonna say it wrong. So they had some HVAC technicians that came out and they found that all 5 units in the ceiling of the street department all have cracks or holes in the heat exchangers. The danger lies in that there's an amount of carbon monoxide being present in the space, and it also could lead to a potential furnace fire. Staff got 2 quotes to replace all 5 of the units in the existing street garage that will match the new units going into the addition. And the staff is recommending to approve the quotes from Pike's Plumbing and Heating for replacement of the 5 unit heaters in the amount of $13,200. Just to give you a little update as well, we had this project budgeted in 2021 at about $468,000. The bid was awarded for the addition onto the street garage. Bids were awarded to Norson in March in the amount of $505,000. So we're already $36,000 over budget, and now this will add to the amount that we're over budget.
We're gonna put this to the project.
I would put this to the project. I would say this is like a change order.
So the 13.2 is for the 5 units, it's not per unit 13.
It's for the 5 units is
All
what I
5
understand.
units is
Okay.
13.
Yep.
Okay. Ready? I'll make a motion, staff recommend approving the quote for the Pike Plumbing and Heating for the replacement of 5 Resnor unit heaters in the amount of $13,200 to get rid of the soot.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. I just want to make my voice heard that I am disappointed in Contegrity and I am disappointed in Widsat. That we paid them $75,000 to go through all of our buildings a few years ago and tell us what our maintenance needs were for the next 30 years.
And they didn't.
And they didn't catch this. This should have been an easy inclusion when we were adding on the street department garage. It should have been part of the project from the get-go. So I'm a little disappointed in Contegrity. But
it's
you can't
obviously something you
pump
can't-
carbon monoxide
No,
into your building,
you
so
gotta fix
you
it.
gotta fix it. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next item is consider the creation of an RFP for the charter contributions. Connie?
So, the current agreements with the center, the Arbin Community Action expired in March. And the charter was changed so that the contribution to organizations that provide community action programs and events, programs that benefit senior citizens, and arboretum or green space organizations within the city limits. So staff is looking direction from council on how they want to select the organizations to carry out this change that we have made to the charter. Staff suggestion would be to create a subcommittee of council members of two or three council members to assist in possibly drafting an RFP, reviewing and scoring those proposals, and making the recommendation to the full council. So we're looking for 2 to 3 council members. We talked about 3, but then as we talked about how that would look, and we didn't want 3 from a committee per se. You know, we have some people that are liaisons to the existing organizations, so maybe it might be better to go with 2 rather than 3 people, 3 council members.
So being a liaison to the 2 of the 3 committees, is that a conflict for me being on the committee?
Could be seen as a benefit, and it could be seen as a conflict.
You're definitely more knowledgeable about the organization.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that's an asset, but then you may also really be biased towards those organizations, which could be seen as a conflict. So you could see it either way.
But if we go through like an RFP, I mean,
If we,
does council want to do an RFP? Do we want to direct negotiate with the existing order? You know, I guess we're asking council, how do you even want us to proceed? And we would like a committee that would help us through the process of whatever that might be.
I got an easy fix, keep it the way it is,
I don't know if we can for the charter.
I don't know.
It says within the city limits of Brainerd.
Keep it the way it is for the next 3 years and see what happens.
Well, I don't think the charter change, I know staff is really focused on these charter changes that the
Yeah.
council enacted. I don't think the charter changes are the primary motivating factor here. We had 10-year contracts that are up.
Yeah.
We need to, and it's taxpayer dollars, we need to, as a council, do our due diligence, are the taxpayer dollars being spent properly? And do we sign another 10-year contract, 3-year contract?
5-year
Is it with these
contracts.
I don't care either way what the time frame is,
Yeah.
but I think it's gotta be minimum 3.
Yep.
I mean, I don't wanna have to come to council every year and do this, and then
Correct.
put these people through, wondering if they're gonna be funded and whatever.
And I think you need to fund it for 3 to 5 or 10 years or extended period of time so that they know they have the money coming in and can.
Cause they have to
can
plan,
go
their
forward.
budgets and plan
Exactly.
their systems too.
Exactly. The amount is changed, letters went out explaining what that change, it looks like being 1.5% of the previous year's levy. At least we can predict what it's going to be further ahead than right now. We kind of wait until November until we know the amount and it's still an estimate at that point. So I guess I'd like the change in the charter just so that we all can plan, is basically.
I would like to see a subcommittee. You know, I know when they passed these 35, 40 years ago, they were smart to do so. I think they're good expenditures, but I don't think they were thinking that $110,000, $330,000 a year is going out the door to charities before the fire department gets a dime.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to look at it.
Is
So-
that something we should talk to, Joe about, just run it by him? As far as like myself, or not? Or-
I see what Joe's opinion is on you being on that subcommittee or not.
I know we talked about whether or not if it could be like 3 members from one committee or not. And if that would be the case, then yes, we would have to just notice the meetings. You know, we would rather not have to notice the meetings, be more of a work session than a public meeting.
I would rather conduct the public's business in public.
We could, and the meetings would be
That-
open to the
that keeps it
public
clean,
too,
yeah.
so.
Cause it doesn't red and flag anything.
So we could do it both ways. I just, you know, when we started looking at it, we thought maybe 2 council members instead of 3 would be easier. And he is aware that we're looking at 2 to 3 council members.
But even in the subcommittee, if the subcommittee met whatever the number is, the subcommittee could come back with a recommendation to say, okay, we're gonna do a X-year contract.
This
Keep it the
is
same.
what we think, yeah, this is what we've.
So that's kind of like,
looked
that's
into it,
where
this
you
is what
would
we
state,
recommend.
remain
Yeah.
your independence
Yeah.
then too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a group.
Yeah. Okay,
Is that a Kelly designation when we get upstairs?
Yeah, if we create a subcommittee, I think it's council president appoints and we approve.
yeah,
And maybe we'll have to wait, if you wanna be on it,
yes.
let's wait till next meeting so we can get an opinion from Joel on how we.
Okay.
I think to just keep it clean, we run it by Joe.
Yep, for sure.
So I think we should still make the appointments and then run it by Joe. And if
That's
there's an
fine.
issue, then we can change it.
Okay.
That's what I would recommend, just so that we can keep the process
Because if we
going.
make the appointments tonight and run it by Joe, say the next
I
2
suppose we can get an
days,
opinion this week. Yeah.
we could get the committee rolling.
Yep, because the plan would be to release the RFPs in late February and have the council select organizations at the second meeting in March. So we're trying to get it rolling too, so that would be my suggestion.
Okay, we've got a motion to create an RFP subcommittee of the council.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Post same sign, that motion carries. Next item, annual authorization to perform electronic.
Just
Kevin?
one quick thing.
Yep.
We've got 2 people here from the center. Is it appropriate if they want to say something or not?
Yeah, we've got plenty of time if you guys want to come up and address us.
It's up to you.
You are on the YouTubes if you.
I mean, you know where the direction we're going.
Yes. And I think that's really kind of why we came, so that we would have some idea
Okay.
how the whole process is going.
And I can fill them in at Thursday's meeting too, if you want.
I guess I'm a little confused. I mean, if the entities were written in the charter from the vision, ours was 1983. It's signed by C. Omer Anderson, George Bedard. They had a vision. And the money that we were allocated at half mil levy in 1983, 84, 85, every year, I'm sure it seemed a lot compared to what was divvied out to city departments, but it was a vision. And they recognized the importance of that vision. So how did we get to this point without any notice, any forewarning, or?
So the 10-year contract, Deanne, I believe you signed, so
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you knew that existed. And then all of the charter amendments those are public meetings, those are all publicly posted, any changes were publicly out there. There was no secret meetings or anything being done, there's no shenanigans here, we followed every state law possible.
Right, but we were never notified that anyone was looking at anything to change it. And yes, I was aware that there's a charter committee, but we weren't informed, we weren't asked. We presented to the charter in November, we presented to the council, your second meeting in November. At the end, we asked if there were any questions. No one said a thing, no questions, no follow-up conversations. The first Monday in January, the mail was quite interesting. And it's huge for us, and I'm sure it's huge for others as well, but from our standpoint, this is huge.
Thank you. Connie. Next item.
Okay, the authorization to perform electronic transfers, this is an annual election that designates who can do electronic transfers. This is a requirement by state statute. So we're followed the same motion that was passed in the middle of 2021 to recommend the motion to delegate the finance director or their designee to make electronic transfers as deemed necessary by the finance director to conduct city business in 2022.
This is a formal thing.
Then I so move.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Pose same sign. And finally, informational workers'
Yes.
compensation.
So this is workers' comp. We had budgeted, did the 2022 budget with a 0.75% experience mod and a 20% increase in rates. We actually had an experience mod of 0.75 and an average decrease in overall rates. We were budgeting a 20% increase because there was a lot of discussion of the PTSD claims that the league had been experiencing, and there was a flyer included. So if we would have known what our actual renewal rates would have been before we adopted the budget, we could have reduced the overall budget by about $20,000 that we used to set the levy. And the biggest portion of that, 15 of the $20,000 difference, is due to the experience mod, and we just had no idea. We actually had a 0.79, and so we had actually talked to our insurance agents, and they told us, let's use the 0.75 on the safe side, and so even better, we'd like to be at a 1 or below, and so we have been doing very good lately with our experience mod. That's based on a 3-year average of the claims that are paid out. And I think that's a big change in the city's philosophy too, that we get you back to work, even if it's lighter duty versus before it was you can't return to work unless you can perform your duties to 100%. So,
Speaking from experience.
well, this wasn't workers' comp though, so
Yeah.
this is my other job, helping my husband farm. That's what did that. That doesn't pay workers' comp.
The calculator didn't hurt the back, the grabbing calves on the mom did.
That was just lifting 2 buckets of grain that caused myself to there. That's what happens when you do manual labor when you sit at a desk. And that doesn't pay for nothing.
So this is good news though.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Saving a little bit of money, and it's
Yes.
great news that our experience
Yes.
mod is so low, because that means our workplaces are safe, our
Yeah.
workforce is healthy and strong and being safe.
Yes.
I think our employee wellness program has done wonders that we've had in
Yes.
place for almost 10 years.
Yes.
Because they get free lunch.
And we're not gonna pump them full of carbon monoxide anymore either,
Yes.
so that's.
Right, no, even lower it even more.
And I think too, yes, it was, our budget was 20,000, but that doesn't mean we're gonna save 20,000 because it's based on actual payroll. So, you know, it might only be 15,000, it might be 25 to 30,000 at the end of the year, but we're good.
The more we save, it means the more money we spend, so hopefully we don't save any money.
That's true. Alrighty, so that is it.
Thanks, Connie. With that, we're adjourned. We'll be upstairs in 4 minutes.